morning, y'all. Let's build some new cottage garden beds together. So my first step in creating a new garden bed is figure out kind of how I want the design of my bed to go. You can kind of see how I've come out and made like little circles and straight lines, kind of how I wanted it to go. And then I come back and spray with something to kill off the grass. And I used a solution of vinegar, Epsom salt, dish soap, and hot water. And I sprayed that on a really hot, sunny day a couple of weeks ago and killed off the grass area here. Next step is I got my railroad ties, because that's what we're using for our bed borders, is railroad ties and rocks. We're making the curves with the rocks, the straight line with the railroad ties. You can see on our previous beds we made the curves with the rock and the straight lines with the railroad ties. So we're going to mimic the same materials and carry them over to this bed. Kind of have the same kind of designs and patterns. So we got the railroad ties. Jean got those in place kind of where they need to be with the tractor because they're so stinking heavy. And now I'm coming back with my cardboard, which is really step 2. So I'm laying down cardboard and I'm putting it under the railroad ties just to help hold it down, and also to help keep the grass from growing up underneath the railroad ties so much for a while until that grass can be suffocated out, because it's not getting light and it can kill it. So that's why I wanted the railroad ties here before I started laying down the cardboard. So step 1 is kill off the grass the best you can. Step 2, lay the cardboard. Step 3, now we're placing bed borders. Getting the railroad ties just how we want them, and then making the rounded edges with the rock. we didn't get to finish the beds yesterday around the porch because it started raining on us. And today Chase and I went and picked up a load of super soil to go in these beds and stopped by and got some more cardboard. So I'm sitting here trying to get it clean. I try to get off all the tape, any white stickers and staples, anything like that that won't decompose. Get all those off the cardboard before I lay it down. I'm gonna finish cleaning this cardboard and get it laid down in the bed and finish placing the rock. We got most of the rock and the borders done yesterday, but we just lack a few. So I'm gonna finish doing that. And then we'll move on to step 3, which is adding good soil to the bed. And we're using super soil. I got it from, there is a place not far from me in Prattville called Bubba's Materials. And he has mulch and gravel and different kinds of soils and topsoil and, you know, materials like that. So we went and got a load of the super soil, which is a mixture of manure, mushroom compost, sand. I can't remember what all is in that mixture. This is like putting a puzzle together. You gotta find the right rock for the right spot. My next step, number 5, is to draw all of this out with measurements and figure out which plants I want to use in this new garden bed. This is the fun part. Whenever I'm doing a new garden around an existing structure, like a house or a porch or whatever the case may be, then the first thing I do when I'm drawing up my plan is I draw that structure and the proper measurements of that structure. And I get all the measurements that I can possibly get on that structure that I think will help me in my design plan. So for instance, right here on the house, first of all, I'll measure the full length of the house. Then I'll get the measurement from there to where the window starts, the length of the window, and from there to where the window starts. Because I'm thinking I'm gonna want something tall right here, and I wanna see how wide that plant could actually be. That helps me figure out which plants I wanna put where. And then here, you know, I'll get the measurement from the ground to about right there, because I don't want anything any taller than that to block my view. So then that way I'll know how tall these plants can get. And that's how I take my measurements. And then like on this porch here, this is the center right here. And that's a center post. There's no other tall post here, just that one. So right there, that's why I decided to make like a curve right here. See, I kind of made that like a focal point, and I let the way the existing structure is, I let it kind of design my beds for me and determine what I'm going to plant where. And like right here on the corner of the porch, I wanted to round the bed out right here. And then I'm thinking on this corner, I'm gonna put 3, one there, and one over there, arborvitaes that are like 3 feet wide and like 8 feet tall. And then I'll come in front of them with a little layer of some little ground cover type shrub or perennial. And then like where the stairs are here, see, we kind of rounded the edge off with these rocks. And I wanted this measurement here because that'll be like my ground cover. And then this will be a taller thing right here. I also keep in mind like what are the other existing plants that's in the beds, because I want to repeat a few of these for repetition. Because whenever you use repetition in your garden beds, in any kind of design, it just brings unity to the whole thing. So I'm not going to use the exact every one of these plants that I've used over here on this side, but I am going to use some of them and just kind of incorporate them on the other side as well. And then I've got repetition and I've got unity in my beds. And just like these limelights that I have right here, I'm going to go ahead and repeat those right here as well, so that the front of it is pretty symmetrical with the limelights on both sides. But then I'll change things up with what I put in front of them. So once I get my drawing done of my existing structure and those measurements that I need, then I come back and I draw in my bed borders. Now my bed borders, I usually determine those first before I do anything. I try to kind of determine the design of my bed border in the beginning and have it in my head. But then when I'm at this point, I come back and I draw it in with exact measurements once it's created, because you know what's in your mind a lot of times turns out to be different when you're actually building the structure. So once it's built, then I come back and I draw it out and I get those measurements so I know exactly what size plants I can put in that space. And then the next thing that I do on my drawing is I come in and I just make notes on my drawing, like maybe what plants I might have in mind to go there, or even just like what size that plant can be. So like where that column was, I can say that plant can be 6 feet tall and it can actually be 6 feet wide if I want it to be, and it's a focal plant. So I kind of make those notes on my plan. And then my next step is to go to my favorite nursery in the world, Petals from the Past, and just plant shop and pick out plants to go in those specific places. Hey, Toby! Look who's here to greet me. He misses me. Hey, Toby! Hey, buddy! I miss you too, buddy. I do. Yes, sir. For those of you who are new to my channel or who don't know, I used to work at Petals from the Past for almost 12 years. I worked there and did the all the displays, the merchandising, designs, everything. Anything that needed to be done, I did it. And I loved it. I love everybody here, and I love this nursery so much with all of my heart. But this past year in January, we made a decision for me to quit working and to work on our farm full-time. So I truly miss this place and I miss my family that's here, but I am excited to be able to be at home and on our farm full-time. Hey, Alice. How are you?
See who it was. I was just speaking. Oh,
how are you doing?
Get back over here.
Hey, Lori. How's it going?
Hey.
Sue's my partner today. I need somebody to just tell me what to do. She's helping me out. Here's what we got going so far. Now I'm back home, and this is all of my beautiful plants that I found at Petals from the past for my garden beds. And now I'm ready to move on to step 6, which is place my plants and then plant them.
I'm working on this gutter because when it rains a lot, it comes out and just splashes here and splashes on the deck. So I'm gonna put a gutter system up right here and drop it down and let it run out and attach some hoses, piping on that to get the water diverted out of the bed so that it don't wash all of our soil away. But I'm making Tracy happy. What are you doing, champ? Are you watching us? You're watching us plant, aren't you?
Well, everything's planted, and now we're on the final step, which is to put a good covering of mulch over the soil, just to help keep moisture in and to help keep weeds from growing up in the bed. And then after I get the pine straw out, we just need to water everything in really good. And then for about, I don't know, for a few weeks, I'm gonna water all of this at least every other day until it gets established. And then we're moving into cooler temperatures and into fall, and you don't have to water near as much when you plant in the fall. That's why I love fall planting shrubs, roses, trees, fruit. It's the best time to plant those plants. We've got the cottage garden built around the porch now, so I just want to give you a little tour of what we have so far. I'm still working on decorating the stairs and the porch. I've just got a few pumpkins in place right now, but I just wanted to show you what the finished product of the garden bed looks like. It's actually not finished. This is just what I call like the foundation layer. I like to do my cottage beds in layers. That's why my garden beds are so deep, because I like to do taller evergreens, and then I like to come down with mid-sized shrubs. I like to put in trees in there, and then I like to come in with perennials and then ground covers. So I like to do layers. I think that just makes it look so much more cottagey. So right now I've basically just put in my foundation plants for the most part. So I've got my containers here, and I can seasonally do these every season. I can plant these with something different. I went with the white pansies this year just for the wedding, but what I like to do too, I think is so pretty, is when you plant a pot and then whatever is in the pot, if you repeat it spilling around the base of the pot, it just looks so pretty to me and so natural, like it just naturally colonized there. And I've got the evergreen arborvitae back there, which will get taller. It'll get as tall as to the top of the rail there. Right now it's a little out of proportion, but it will grow. And I did the same thing over here. So that is a evergreen arborvitae. And then in these containers here, it's a boxwood and white matrix pansies, and this is dichondra or silver falls, which I love. And then I also put in a little variegated creeping fig, and then I spilled the pansies over around the base of the container. And then right here I've got the limelight hydrangeas, which I am repeating the limelight hydrangeas that are right there. And then as we come around the corner, I've got 3 arborvitaes right there. And then in front of the arborvitae, I have the apricot drift roses. And these are a rose made by Knockout, but they stay very small. They get like 1.5 feet, possibly 2 feet tall, and they have a spread on them about 3 feet. They're really sweet, really pretty. And then as we come down the side here, these are the Vaccinium Darrowii, our dwarf blueberry, and this one is Rosa's blush. And these two and these two down here, I actually transplanted those from my other bed because they were just too big in the spot I had them, and they were taking over my rows. So I decided just to go ahead and transplant those over here because they are evergreen. They look a little bit sad right now because I had to prune them so hard because they were so tall. And, you know, we dug them up and transplanted them. So they're in a little bit of a shock, but they still don't look that bad to have been transplanted. So I decided to use these over here. And then I'm going to come back in that spot and add something a little different over there in the spring. And this is a Camellia sasanqua. And this one is Ivory, October Magic Ivory, and it's a beautiful white camellia. The sasanqua camellias can take sun, even afternoon sun. That's why I have this one here, because it can take the hot afternoon sun that's right here. But that's gonna get, you know, fairly tall, probably like 8 feet, 6 to 8 feet tall. And it's gonna get wider and fill in this spot. But that'll be like a focal plant right here. And then more of the dwarf blueberries. And then this is an old-fashioned gardenia, so I'm expecting that to get pretty big, probably as tall as the rail, and it'll give us some fragrance right here at the dining table. So I'm excited about this gardenia here. And then right here underneath my kitchen window, I decided to do an arborvitae there, which will, you know, go up 6 to 8 feet, and also one over there. And then in between, I did a boxwood, and it's probably going to get a little bit taller than the white siding. I just want to hide that siding. I wanted to keep this really simple over here. But then in front of the arborvitaes, where my curves are there and over there, I went with the little white Gumpo Azalea. It has a little tight leaf, and it only gets about 2 feet tall, 3 feet wide, so it's going to make a nice little ground cover right here. And it blooms like late spring. What I like to do when I'm doing my own garden beds is I like to come in first and put all of my foundation plants, is what I call them. So that would be like trees, shrubs, evergreens. I like to get those in first. And fall is the best time, in my opinion, to plant those. And even to transplant. Like I transplanted those dwarf blueberries. They do so much better when you can transplant them in the fall. So I like to come in and get my foundation plants first. And I like to let them grow a little bit, get established a little bit. And then I like to come in and add my other layers to my beds, like more roses or perennials, ground covers, perennials that bloom at different times of the year during different seasons, so that we have year-round interest going on in the garden bed. When one thing's finished, another thing starts blooming. I love to do my beds like that. Main focus right now was just to, first of all, get this bed created, and then get my foundation plants in and just try to make it look, you know, as nice as I could for the wedding coming up in just a few weeks. And then this spring, I'll come back and add some more perennials and some ground cover layers to this bed. So I'm pretty excited to have this phase of the garden added on. I've been waiting for this porch, and I've been waiting to be able to complete my cottage garden beds around my house, and I'm pretty excited to be at this point. Thank you guys so much for joining me in building my new cottage garden bed, and I hope that you will be able to take away from this video some helpful tips in building and designing and creating a new cottage garden bed of your own. So you guys have a blessed and a wonderful week, and I'll see you on the next video.